You wake up every day reacting to messages, reacting to expectations, reacting to pressure, reacting to fear. You call this living. But what you're really doing is drifting. And drifting feels safe only because it demands nothing from you. No decision, no responsibility, no clarity. And that is exactly why it slowly destroys you. Jim Rohn once warned that if you don't design your life, someone else will. But he left something unsaid. The person who designs it for you won't hate you. They'll simply use you. And you'll thank them for it, because using you gives you the illusion of direction. You think intention is a soft word, spiritual, optional. Something motivational speakers talk about when they don't have real advice. That belief alone has cost you years. Because intention is not about wishing. It is about declaring war on chaos. The human mind is a weapon. But an unfocused weapon doesn't protect. It misfires, it hits the wrong targets. Sometimes it turns inward and destroys its owner. You call that anxiety. You call that burnout. You call that lack of motivation. But the real name is absence of intention. Most people don't fail because they lack talent. They fail because their energy leaks in 1,000 directions. They say yes to things they don't want. They chase goals they didn't choose. They work hard, but never deliberately. And effort without clarity is the fastest path to resentment. But there is a deeper, more dangerous truth we haven't touched yet. Look at history. The Stoics didn't obsess over happiness. They obsessed over alignment. Marcus Aurelius didn't wake up asking how to feel good. He woke up asking how to act correctly. Because correct action, repeated with intention, eventually reshapes the soul. Machiavelli understood this too, though in darker terms. Power, he said, favors the decisive, not the smartest, not the kindest. The decisive. The world bends not to those who hope, but to those who choose. You see, clarity is violent. It cuts away options. It eliminates excuses. It forces you to confront what you really want, and that's terrifying. Because once you're clear, you can no longer pretend. You can no longer say, I didn't know. Clarity removes the shelter of confusion. That's why most people stay vague, vague goals, vague dreams. I just want to be successful. I just want to be happy. Those aren't goals. They're hiding places. Jim Rohn said that vague goals produce vague results. But what he was really saying is that vagueness protects the ego. If you never define the target, you never have to face the miss. But there is a deeper, more dangerous truth we haven't touched yet. Your environment is always shaping you. Every conversation, every screen, every habit. And if you don't enter that environment with intention, it will rewrite your identity without your permission. You think you have beliefs. In reality, most of your beliefs were absorbed from parents who were afraid, from teachers who were tired, from a culture that rewards comfort over courage. And unless you consciously choose which beliefs stay, they will run your life like silent code. Clarity is how you rewrite that code. When Jim Rohn talked about setting goals, he wasn't talking about productivity. He was talking about identity. Goals are not about the future. They are about who you decide to become today. The moment you say, this is who I am becoming, your brain reorganizes itself. Your attention sharpens. Your tolerance for nonsense drops. You stop negotiating with weakness. Not because you're suddenly disciplined, but because you're aligned. Alignment is effortless power. Think about the people you admire, truly admire. They're not frantic. They're not scattered. They move slowly, deliberately, like predators who know the hunt will end in their favor. That calm is not personality, it's clarity. But here's the part no one likes to hear. Clarity will cost you relationships. When you become intentional, you become inconvenient. You stop people pleasing. You stop explaining. You stop apologizing for wanting more. And people who benefited from your confusion will resist your clarity. They'll call you selfish, cold, arrogant. They said the same thing about every person in history who refused to live accidentally. But there is a deeper, more dangerous truth we haven't touched yet. Your mind does not follow motivation. Motivation follows meaning. And meaning only emerges when your actions point in one direction. You don't lack motivation. You lack a reason that scares you enough to move. Jim Rohn understood that success is a few simple disciplines practiced every day. But discipline without intention becomes punishment. With intention, it becomes devotion. That's why forcing habits never lasts. People try to wake up at 5, read books, go to the gym, meditate, hustle. They stack behaviors without a unifying intention. The result is exhaustion. Then they quit and conclude they're lazy. They're not lazy. They're misaligned. Clarity simplifies life, not by making it easy, but by making it honest. You know what matters, you know what doesn't. And once you know that, saying no becomes natural. The Stoics called this voluntary discomfort, choosing the harder path, not because it's painful, but because it's purposeful. Because pain without purpose is suffering, but pain with intention is transformation. But there is a deeper, more dangerous truth we haven't touched yet. Most people are not afraid of failure. They're afraid of precision, because precision leaves fingerprints. It makes the outcome traceable back to you. When you say, I want to build this kind of life at this level, by this time, you step into a contract with reality, and reality will test you. It will delay you. It will humiliate you. It will strip you of comforting illusions. And many people would rather live small than be exposed. Jim Rohn often said, Don't wish it were easier. Wish you were better. But becoming better requires a clear definition of what better means. Otherwise, improvement becomes endless motion with no destination. Clarity is how you stop running in circles. Look at social dynamics. The person with the clearest agenda controls the room. Not the loudest, not the most emotional, the clearest. Humans subconsciously defer to certainty, even when they don't like it, even when it threatens them. That's why leaders emerge naturally when chaos hits, not because they're superior, but because they're decisive. And here's the uncomfortable part. If you are not leading your own life with intention, you are following someone else's. Even if you think you're independent, even if you think you're free. But there is a deeper, more dangerous truth we haven't touched yet. Your subconscious doesn't respond to what you want. It responds to what you tolerate. Every time you accept a life you don't respect, you train your mind to expect less. And once expectation drops, effort follows. That's how people slowly die while still breathing. Intention raises standards. And standards are the immune system of the soul. Jim Rohn taught that you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. But the deeper layer is this: you become the average of the 5 ideas you tolerate most. What ideas do you let live rent free in your head? That you're too late, that you're not special, that success is for others. Those ideas didn't arrive by accident. They stayed because you didn't challenge them with intention. Clarity is confrontation. It forces you to ask, is this belief useful? Is it true? Or is it just familiar? Familiarity is the enemy of growth. But there is a deeper, more dangerous truth we haven't touched yet. Time does not respond to effort. It responds to direction. You can work for 10 years and end up nowhere if your direction is wrong. And you can make terrifying progress in 1 year if your intention is sharp. That's why people look back and say, I don't know where the time went. Time didn't go anywhere. You did. Without intention, Jim Rohn said that days are expensive. When you spend a day, you have one less day to spend. The tragedy isn't that time passes. It's that most people never decide what their time is for. Clarity gives time a job. When you know what you're building, distractions lose their grip. Not because you're disciplined, but because distractions are irrelevant. You don't fight them. You outgrow them. But there is a deeper, more dangerous truth we haven't touched yet. The world profits from your lack of clarity. Indecision makes you a perfect consumer. You buy things to fill emotional gaps. You follow trends to borrow identity. You scroll to avoid silence. Silence is dangerous when you don't know who you are. Clarity makes you harder to manipulate. That's why it's discouraged. That's why noise is constant. Because a clear mind is a rebellious mind. Machiavelli warned rulers about citizens who think too clearly. They are difficult to control. They don't panic easily. They don't chase illusions. They don't obey blindly. Ask yourself honestly, how much of your life is reaction? How much is design? Jim Rohn believed that happiness is not something you pursue directly. It's something you experience when you live correctly. And living correctly begins with intention. Not 100 intentions, one central one. What are you becoming? Not what do you want? What are you becoming? Because wanting is passive. Becoming is active. Becoming demands alignment between thought, action, and environment. But there is a deeper, more dangerous truth we haven't touched yet. You already know what you want. You just don't trust yourself enough to commit to it. You've felt it in quiet moments, late at night, early in the morning. That pull, that restlessness, that sense that you're capable of more. That's not ego, that's intuition. And every time you ignore it, you weaken your self-trust. Clarity is self-respect made visible. Jim Rohn said that success is not to be pursued, it is to be attracted by the person you become. And who you become is decided by the intentions you honor, not the ones you speak. Your habits are votes. Your attention is a vote. Your standards are votes. And every day, you are voting for the person you will be in 5 years. Most people don't like that truth because it removes the villain. There's no one to blame, no system, no timing, just choice. But there is a deeper, more dangerous truth we haven't touched yet. If you don't choose your intention consciously, your fear will choose it for you. Fear is always intentional. It always knows what it wants: safety, comfort, invisibility. And if you let fear lead, your life will shrink elegantly, polite without drama, until one day you wake up and realize you've become a spectator to your own potential. Clarity is how you fire fear from the leadership position. This doesn't mean confidence. Confidence is a byproduct. It means commitment, quiet, internal, unshakable. The Stoics called it inner citadel, a place no external chaos could touch. Jim Rohn called it personal philosophy. Different language, same truth. When your philosophy is clear, the world makes sense. When it's not, everything feels heavy. But there is a deeper, more dangerous truth we haven't touched yet. The cost of clarity is loneliness, at first, because when you stop drifting, you separate from the crowd, not above them, away from them. And that distance can feel like isolation. But what waits on the other side is alignment. People who move like you move, think like you think, build like you build. And suddenly, life stops feeling like resistance and starts feeling like momentum. Momentum is clarity in motion. Jim Rohn said that discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. But clarity is the blueprint. Without it, discipline builds prisons. So let me ask you the only question that matters. If your life continued exactly as it is now for the next 5 years, would you respect the person you become? If the answer makes you uncomfortable, good. Discomfort is the signal, not to panic, not to rush, but to decide. Jim Rohn used to say that we all must suffer one of two pains, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. What he didn't say explicitly is that regret is simply discipline postponed until it mutates into bitterness. Discipline hurts up front. Regret corrodes silently. Most people don't feel lost. They feel busy. And business is the perfect disguise for a life without direction. Movement without meaning looks productive from the outside. Inside, it feels hollow. You don't need more information. You need fewer options. The modern world drowns you in choices, careers, lifestyles, philosophies, hustle or balance, minimalism or excess. Every option pulls at your attention like a hook. And attention, once fragmented, cannot sustain intention. The Stoics warned about this centuries ago. A man distracted by everything, they said, is mastered by nothing. And a man mastered by nothing is mastered by chance. Chance is not neutral. It always favors entropy. But there is a deeper, more dangerous truth we haven't touched yet. Your identity is not what you say you are. It is what your daily behavior proves you believe. You can say you value growth, but if your days are optimized for comfort, comfort is your God. You can say you want freedom, but if your decisions are driven by approval, approval owns you. Jim Rohn believed that success is a personal philosophy practiced daily. Philosophy isn't what you read, it's what you live. And most people live a philosophy they never consciously chose. That's the trap. When intention is absent, habits become rulers. And habits don't care about your potential. They only care about repetition. That's why clarity must come before discipline. Otherwise, discipline only reinforces the wrong life. But there is a deeper, more dangerous truth we haven't touched yet. Your emotions are not obstacles. They are indicators. Anxiety is not random. It's the tension between who you are and who you know you should be. Restlessness is not impatience. It's unused capacity demanding direction. Boredom is not laziness. It's your mind rejecting a life that doesn't challenge it. But without clarity, emotions feel like enemies. With clarity, they become signals. Jim Rohn talked about listening to the whispers before they become screams. Most people ignore the whispers. They numb them, distract them, rationalize them, until one day life screams through burnout, illness, or crisis. Clarity is preventative medicine for the soul. But here's the uncomfortable part. Clarity does not arrive gently. It arrives through honesty. Brutal honesty. You must admit what you want, not what sounds noble, not what earns praise. What actually pulls you forward, and wanting something deeply exposes you. Because now you have something to lose, something to fail at, something to be judged for. That's why people pretend they don't care. But there is a deeper, more dangerous truth we haven't touched yet.